This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You know those friends who support your preference for podcasts over music on road trips? That's the energy State Farm brings to insurance. With over 19,000 local agents, they help you find the coverage that fits your needs, so you can spend less time worrying about insurance and more time enjoying the ride. Download the State Farm app or go online at statefarm.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
From our virtual studios in the Netherlands
and Camarillo, California,
it is time once again, ladies and gentlemen, for the Marketing Geeks.
That's right. Welcome to another edition of Marketing Geeks. And this week, we are going to get into the topic of self-publishing, writing your own book and establishing expertise in your specific area. Exciting stuff coming here.
Yeah, and not only that, we have a guest that is going to give you some knowledge that I guarantee will help you out. And then after that, we are going to get into some fan mail. And boy, we got an incident that we have to relay to you, our 7 listeners.
So get excited.
Because we had 6, and then we got a new one. So without any further ado, we are the Marketing Geeks, ready to bring you the information and empower you that you need to be successful in the marketing world. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Marketing Geeks, we are back again. And I'm so happy to be here. But yes, we have an amazing guest, and we will give that information to you and introduce our guest right after we pay some bills. So stand by.
As a chef, I know flavor doesn't begin in the kitchen. It begins on the land. And Westhome's nature-led Australian Wagyu is a story written in the landscape of Northern Australia. Cooking is storytelling, and Westhome Wagyu carries a story of Northern Australia itself, raw, powerful, and deeply authentic. It's a testament to the passion and care raised in the rhythm of Northern Australia. I'm Chef Maylin from 88 Club in Los Angeles, and I invite you to visit westhome.com/Maylin to learn more and taste a story only Westhome nature-led Australian Wagyu can tell. That's WESTHOLME.com/MEILIN.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, as a marketer, you know that your website is the most important brand asset that you have for any digital experience. So you need to make sure that you need to have testing and building and optimizing for your site. And that's why there is a solution that is called Pantheon. It's a platform that will give you a Drupal or WordPress experience that surpasses any other platform. What do you think of that?
In fact, it's actually the only web ops platform built from the ground up for agility. And it actually gives web teams agile superpowers to iterate faster and deliver results.
In fact, it's so good that organizations like Coach, Yale University, and ACLU trust Pantheon to keep their sites fast, scalable, and secure. And there's a listener offer. So if you go to pantheon.io/marketinggeeks, Pantheon will give you a special thing.
Special welcome offer. So again, that's pantheon.io/marketinggeeks. You're going to want to check that out.
Back to the show. And we're back. And thank you for, supporting our sponsors, because they are, they make this whole thing possible. And with that, we also want to say, if you want to help out the show, you can do it in a number of ways. You can help us on our Patreon page. You can also just leave us a review, like the one that someone did on iTunes, which we'll share with you momentarily. But you know what? what people really love about us is our guests. And the next guest is someone who is someone who has published their own books, got it on Amazon, became successful in that field. And I would like to introduce Donna Gunter. Ladies and gentlemen, Donna.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
You're the CEO of consulting firm Biz Smart Media, and you're the host of the Main Street Mavericks Radio, and has contributed to a number of publications on topics of authority marketing and personal branding, which is something that I love. So, thanks for showing up. You're in Texas, yeah?
Yes, I am. If my accent doesn't give that away, I mean, it. Everyone can usually
slightly does. It does betray you a little bit. It does betray you.
So why don't you give us a little bit of your background? Like, tell us how you ended up, because you got an interesting story about how you started doing what you're doing. Why don't you fill us in a little bit?
Wow. Well, believe it or not, my background is in higher education administration. I used to work in college and university housing, and my master's degree is in that, but I burned out in that field. I never believed them when they said that burnout was epic in the higher education industry, and I became one of the victims. And so I went then into running a youth center, and this is when I lived in Massachusetts. My accent diminished a little bit, but I never popped my car in the harbor the whole time I lived there.
You never picked up the Boston accent or any of that?
No. Well, I was in Western Mass, actually, so I was about as far from Boston as you can get and still stay in the state. But all the students there were from the Boston area because that was as far as away from mom and dad as they could get and still pay in-state tuition. But at any rate, I returned to Texas after some very tumultuous life events and started my own business as a virtual marketing assistant, and did that from my moved back to my mom's house. I'd gone through a divorce, moved back to my mom's house, opened up my business in her garage, her unheated garage, or an uncooled garage, I guess I should say. And this was in 1999, and that business developed and changed throughout the years until I finally closed it in 2014 when I discovered book publishing and the fact that Amazon's what used to be called Create Space and now is called Kindle Direct Publishing made that so much easier for self-publishers. Published my first book. Some people call it a multi-author book, or some people call it an anthology. At any rate, I got 9 of my colleagues together, published a book about marketing, made it an Amazon bestseller. I was tanked because it was such an easy process. People were ecstatic with their results, and people loved being the author of a book. And so changed my entire business model, and have been doing that since 2014, helping my clients gain notoriety in their industries as well as in their local areas if they happen to have a brick and mortar business by becoming the author of their own book. Most local businesses are not the author of their own book. And local business owners, that is, aren't the author of their own book. Most don't even conceive that they can do that or why they should do that. So this puts them head above beyond their competition, because if they're a dentist, for example, and publishing their own book, I can pretty much assure that no other dentist within a 30 or 40 mile radius has their own book out about a particular subject area.
Yeah, it does kind of distinguish people. It distinguishes them from their competition. Now, one of the things that we've done an entire series in the past on like influence tactics, and we kind of went through Robert Cialdini's book Influence, and one of the tactics in that book is authority building. And I think that writing a book and just having that designation of published author by your name does magic. And I know that you've probably realized this because that's your whole business. But there is something that happens when a consumer hears the term, this is a published author. It's not just a run of the mill, dentist. It's a dentist who wrote the book on dentistry. It's the person that wrote the book on the subject. It kind of it creates this entire different feel for their expertise and knowledge. So you've kind of created a business around leveraging that influence tactic and allowing people to create fast authority in their niche. So like specifically, can you share like in your experience, like what does this do for people when they become a published author? What doors is this opening up for them in their businesses? What are you seeing? What kind of results are you seeing for your clients that you help them through this with?
Well, some really basic things are I teach my clients not to introduce themselves as their profession, not as an accountant, a dentist, a chiropractor, et cetera, at a networking event, but introduce themselves as an author, because that still makes people perk up and pay attention, like you referenced. It's it's putting themselves in a completely different category than anybody else at the event. And of course, they become way cooler if they produce that physical copy of the book and give out a couple of copies and or autograph a couple of copies to people. That'll make people want to take selfies with them. It's like, oh, well, maybe I haven't heard of you, but you must be famous. You've got your book right here. Can I take a photo of you and put this on
all my social media? I didn't know who you were 5 minutes ago, but now I need a selfie with you.
Exactly.
Is that all it takes?
That's all it takes. It makes you a media darling. If you're trying to get media attention in your own community, sending the television media, radio media, print media, a copy of your book, gets it reviewed, gets you interviewed. If the book is covering a particular topic and a reporter needs an expert on that, people don't throw that book away. Reporters don't throw that book away. My husband is the odd one.
Is that something that you teach then with your clients? Is it how to leverage the book to get on, media, like get on television, book those kind of appearances? Is that something that you teach as well?
Oh, absolutely. As well as leveraging it to make money in your business. The biggest mistake that a lot of people go into this with, or the misunderstanding, I guess, is that they need to sell a lot of books to make their money back. And I tell them that you're actually going to make more money by not selling one copy of your book. You need to give it away to as many people as you possibly can. Give it to your vendors, give it to your current clients, give it to prospects, give it to family, give it to friends, give it to business colleagues. The more people who have that book in hand, the more chances you have of great referrals, having those people give it to people who really need the solution that you're talking about in your book. And then having those prospects read the book, become automatic clients, your ideal clients, and then come and ask to work with you as opposed to you having to do any prospecting on your part. So it becomes then an automatic lead generation system.
Yeah. And it's interesting because go ahead, Andres.
Oh, I was just going to say, because there's a few things that I want to unpack here, because there's actually several different subjects that you're talking about. But what was the question that you were about to ask, Justin?
Well, I was just going to make the point that it's almost counterintuitive when you write a book. Like most people that write books, they think that the reason they're writing a book is to sell the book. They think that they're writing a book to become a best-selling author, and then that's how they're going to make their money. But the counterintuitive part is that, no, the book is what's opening these doors. The book is what's creating your instant authority and celebrity status. The book, so like giving that book away, actually, like you said, is going to have more power than selling the book for 99 cents or $10 or whatever they're getting for it. So it's just, I think it's almost like a counterintuitive point, but I think a lot of things, when you dive deep into marketing, like a lot of things that you like become counterintuitive. So a lot of this stuff is not just in this section, but I found this in many areas of marketing, that there's just things that the way you think something's going to go and the way it actually works is quite different. And then also the idea of like giving away your content for free, giving away some of your best educational materials for free. That also, I think, is something that's counterintuitive, but it's powerful and it works. So
yeah, and even if you write a book, no one's gonna probably read it anyway, because people don't read anymore.
Or more people are not going to try to do it themselves. I mean, there may be 1% of your readers that can actually do whatever it is you're talking about. I mean, provided it's not some kind of dermatological procedure or something, some medical something, or something really deep accounting or something. But
I took out my own gallbladder.
You did what? You took out your own gallbladder? I took out my own
gallbladder. Again, I had no insurance, so I just
watch a couple YouTube videos. You went to YouTube,
right. Got a rusty butter knife. Just drink a couple of bottles of Grand Marnier and good to go.
I thought you'd have severe vodka or tequila for that one.
So I first of all, here a couple of questions. So number one is you talked about that. Do you normally deal with anthologies, or do you help people write an entire book?
Well, it's an entire book, but it's not an entire book maybe like you're thinking of. I'm not helping the dentist write the book on everything dentistry. We're doing a one problem, one solution book that's actually pretty short. It's only 50 to 70 pages. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One of which you mentioned, that nobody reads a whole book anymore. I've got a lot of business books sitting on my desk, and I just go to the chapter that answers the problem answers, the questions that I have right now about a particular problem that I have. So and with my clients, because nobody reads a 200-page book any longer, I'm having them create a very short book that can be read, on a commute if you're taking the train in or taking the bus into work, waiting for your kids at soccer practice, waiting for your daughter to come from a ballet recital, waiting to go in before some type of meeting that you might have. They're usually consumable within 30 minutes. They're written in a way that has a lot of white space, so you're not becoming completely overwhelmed. And it does quickly answer the problem that you're seeking a solution for. And so, somebody might not read all of it, granted, but they're probably going to read more of that book than they would the 200-page everything you know about dentistry type of book.
That makes a lot of sense. And so when do you normally have when you help a client with a book, are they the singular author in there, or are there different dentists that are in this book?
I do some anthology books, but the primary number of books that I publish are single author books. It is the person I'm interviewing is the sole author. If they don't quite have the investment for the single author book, then we can look at an anthology series.
Now, to switch gears a little bit, how do you get your clients? Like, how do you market yourself to convince, like, say, the doctor or the mechanic to go through this process? Like, what is your process for finding clients, getting leads, and following up?
Well, I try to walk my talk, so part of what I do because I live in a pretty rural area of Texas, there are not a lot of speaking opportunities. So people are hearing about me through social media, and my newest venture, and this is a part of that venture, is trying to get myself booked on 60 podcasts in 60 days. I'm on about number 10 at this point, and giving away my book on that so people can hear about that. But then a podcast is not a one and done kind of event. So I am taking those podcast episodes and recycling those in social media, building my list through other kinds of lead magnets. I've got a pretty healthy list that I've had since I started business in 1999. And using primarily virtual ways, to build my business because of my geographic location.
Now, with your email list, what do you typically use to get people to subscribe to your email list? What kind of a lead magnet? Because you mentioned lead magnet. What are you using to build that email list? And you've been doing it since 1999, so I imagine that's changed over the years.
Oh yeah,
so like how
probably with 30 different lead magnets.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. What are you using now? How's that?
The current one that I'm using is how to market your business 10 minutes a day. 60 different ideas for doing that.
That's awesome. Now, I have a question for you because I know that you can help people write books and you help them write them fast. So if you have somebody that's like super, everybody claims this, that they're too busy. They don't have time to write a book. They don't have time to do any of this stuff. So how quickly can somebody write a book with your process?
Like, let's say you had two podcast hosts, for instance, who've been talking about writing a book for a long time, but they don't have the time. What would you say to those two? I'm asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend, of course. Well, actually, my clients don't do any writing at all. What I do is we figure out the topic. Yes, we figure out the topic that they want the book to cover. I come up with a series of questions to ask them. I interview them, and then that interview becomes a book.
So are you transcribing that interview? Is that is it just being
transcribing
recorded
and editing? Yes.
Oh, okay. And of course, and editing. Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
And so then there may be, as we look at that, as we review it, there may be some pieces that weren't quite as fully explained as the author would like. So we'll go and fill that in, or there may be something he has or she has on our website that would make a good supplement to what we already have there. But the bulk of it is conducted in a 45 to 60 minute interview. That's very
about 90% of the work is done through that. That's interesting.
Bingo. Yeah. And my client,
that's really great.
Other than participating in we deciding upon the topic, they come up with their talking points because I pre-send them the questions, so they're prepared for the interview. Their 1 hour participation in the interview, we touched base a little bit on their cover. They approve the cover design. They approve the final edits. Their total time involvement is probably 3 to 4 hours.
Wow. So now you have the transcription. You've edited you've edited it down to a workable manuscript. Now switching gears a little bit, you now go through the Amazon process, and you know how to get to be an Amazon bestseller based on hitting certain niches. So the first part is what is the process of getting to Amazon? And you said that it's getting a lot easier, but what is the process once you have the manuscript done? How does that work?
Well, you have to know how Amazon's guidelines for publishing. And I use Amazon. Of course, if I did this to Amazon, they would tell me, no, that's Kindle Direct Publishing. Amazon is a different company, which blows my mind. But, for brevity, I'll use Amazon because normal people understand what that is, even though Amazon doesn't appear to. At any rate, they've got guidelines for formatting of the book. That's since I've been doing that for so long, I actually purchase. There's some other authors out there who sell templates, word templates, precisely for helping you format your book for Amazon print as well as Amazon Kindle. And it's just a matter of putting your information into those templates, formatting those according to Amazon's guidelines, having your cover created to Amazon's guidelines, uploading everything, and then waiting for them to go to the approval process.
Now, speaking of covers, because I see the Make Them Choose You cover. I really like that cover that you created for that. Did you create that on your own? Did you hire someone to do that? I really like that cover. It's catchy. It's got the finger pointing at you, holding the pencil.
No, I work with a great designer that I've been using from almost the beginning, since about 2014. I give him the sense of what we're looking for, some colors, definitely the title idea. He doesn't come up with the titles, and then he always comes back with an awesome design.
Yeah,
this is great. Okay, so just to recap, because I love this whole process. So number one, you get your clients, you tell them, hey, we're gonna write a book together. You make a painless process so they can get the information out of them. You turn it into a manuscript. You go to Kindle publishing. Now, marketing. Is this something that you advise your clients to do, or is this something that you provide as a service?
It really depends. Many of the clients I work with actually have people in their office to help them with their marketing task. But what I'll do is provide them a big picture. So we have what I call a book promotion strategy session, and come up with ways that they can integrate this book into their normal marketing activities, whether that's if they're doing billboard advertising, if they're doing television advertising, radio advertising, if they're sending out newsletters to current clients. I take a look at their current marketing activities, and we come up with a really easy way for them to insert the fact that they're now a book author into those activities, and how to use their current strategies to get the book into as many hands as possible.
Nice. And can you share maybe one or two of those types of strategies? Sure.
One of the more popular ones that my clients love to use is becoming a media darling. And so what we will do is there's actually a kind of templated letter that I have that they can take as their basis, and then, better that and add their own voice to it, that we use to send out to local media. So their local newspapers, television, radio stations, etc., to announce the fact that they've published a book. If they've gone through the Amazon bestselling process, they're an Amazon bestselling author, and that they're free to talk about, X, Y, and Z topics based on the book, and how to book them, how to get in contact with them for a story or for an interview.
Yeah, which is brilliant because, journalism itself is unfortunately getting defunded. People don't pay for good content anymore. I admit that I'm actually one of those people that I love good journalism, but I don't spend a lot of money on it. But I'm trying to correct myself because I'm a new age guy, and so if you give people content to publish, you're doing them a favor, because a lot of most people are just reprinting stuff nowadays. So this is actually something that's a lot easier than people might realize.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, inherently we're all lazy. I put myself at the top of that list.
You don't know me.
And so the easier you can make somebody's job, the more they love you. I mean, especially if you can give them really good quality stuff that they don't have to rewrite or only modify slightly, they will come back to you again and again and again, because, hey, why not? You can do for that person in 5 minutes what might take you 3 hours to do for somebody else who gives you a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
So I got a question. So let's say that we leverage the book. So we come out with a book. We're leveraging it for our celebrity status, our authority status. We're getting a media appearance, or we're getting booked on a stage. Now, do you teach your clients a strategy for how to leverage then like that media appearance or that stage appearance to then to start acquiring people, put them through the business? Like, do you teach them to add them onto the email list? Do you teach them to book like strategy session phone calls, or like what kind of I'm curious, what would you tell people to do? Like, let's say that they booked a speaking gig from this, from having a book. What kind of a call to action would you have them do from that gig?
Well, say they got a speaking gig speaking. I'm gonna keep this locally at their local Kiwanis club, for example. Okay. I would have them have some type of handout or drawing where they're giving away copies of the book. They collect information, name and email address, and be sure that you're telling people, and you have this on the form, that they'll be added to an email list. That's one of the quickest, having a drawing where you're giving away things is one of the quickest and easiest ways when you're at a local speaking gig to add people to your email list and to start marketing to them, start reaching out to them so they eventually will become clients or customers.
Gotcha. So for your business, how do you usually convert somebody? Let's say you get their email address. I mean, do you follow up with them just via email, and do you make an offer via email, or do you eventually kind of get them onto a phone call to have a sales conversation? Like, how do you get somebody from that email list to become your client? I'm just curious how you do it in your business.
Typically what happens is that somebody gets on my email list, they'll follow through an autoresponder series, and there's a call to action that comes up every so often in the autoresponder series, and that in combination with me sending out regular emails to my list increases my familiarity to that particular prospect. Many times they'll show up as a client when I make a specific offer to my list, or other times they just show up and say, look, I've been on your email list for 3 years. I've been thinking about this. Now I'm ready to take action. How do we do that? And so then, we'll book a call. So I don't really call it a sales call per se, because typically by the time, either by the time people come to me, they're pretty much decided they're going to hire me. It's just a matter of, how do you take my credit card and when do we get started? Yeah. Which is the easiest kind of conversation to have.
Yeah, and I just want to address something here to our 7 listeners too, which is this is like such a good example of how to really create the tribe, but then create a tribe that you then offer them something so they come to you rather than having to hustle. And I think that there's this kind of mentality out there for a lot of entrepreneurs, and believe me, I've had it, where you really need to hustle all the time to close deals. And if you do this properly, the way that it seems like you have, Donna, it's more a matter of developing that thing where you can create a tribe, and then the tribe kind of comes to you when they're ready to, which that's the way to do it.
Oh, absolutely. And I really discovered this accidentally. And, I've discovered after I did this for a while that it actually has a name in the marketing community. It's called educational marketing. But I was publishing a lot of how-to articles back in the early 2000s when article marketing was all the rage. And I got lots and lots of people to my website, lots of traffic based on the articles that got submitted all throughout the internet, the interweb, as my husband calls it, and people coming to me, and they would show up literally with, I've spent like 3 hours on your website reading your content. When can we get started? And that was wonderful. And that, set off kind of bells in my head saying, ding, 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 the stuff that I do naturally. I'm an introvert. I'm not going to be out, partying or dancing on tables or anything. So having people come to me.
Burning Man with us. As soon as the show wins an Emmy, you're going to Burning Man with us.
Do podcasts win Emmy, Andros?
They do. They will after they hear ours.
No, we have so many floods. You'll have to have a boat, out here. We flood there all the time because I live in the bayous of deep East Texas or Southeast Texas. But at any rate, that's how I discovered that whole notion of education marketing, just basically sharing what I know. And I found that to be the case, at networking events, I'd do a speech talking, doing kind of a how-to thing, and people would flock to me because it was really easy for me. It was stuff that I thought, well, gosh, everybody knows this. And I realized, oh, they don't.
Yeah, you know what? So this brings up last week we had this really great guest who told us about kind of the secrets of Pinterest. And so one of the things that she does is she will do this type of article, but she's kind of mastered the way that Pinterest's algorithm works best. And so she creates these really cool graphics in Canva that relate back to the article on her website. And I thought that was brilliant. So this is that same sort of thing where you're making content, and this is another strategy that a lot of that I like to use, although I need to learn how to use it more effectively. But I want to really learn it. Justin's great at this, which is you create SEO key rich words for these articles. And then when people look up these particular queries, if you word them correctly, they'll show up towards the top. And that's a great way to lead people to your site.
Yeah, I was just going to add too that, again, this is kind of what I was saying earlier, that the whole idea of how-to marketing, this is like one of those counterintuitive things where you're basically giving people the solution to their problem ahead of time. But because people are naturally lazy, like we mentioned earlier, except for Andros, everybody but Andros is naturally lazy. They are going to come to you because ultimately what you've done is you've established yourself as a credible expert that can solve their problem. And that's all they were really looking for. They weren't actually looking to do it themselves. They were looking to find somebody that knows what they're doing. And then they want to come to you and have you do it for them. So it's in a sense, though, I know that there are people out there, because I go to chamber events still. There are business owners that are afraid to give away this information because they're afraid people are going to do it themselves. It's like, why would they hire me if I tell them what to do? But the reality is that's just not how business works. It's just not how it works. So
it's funny that I kind of like that name. Yeah,
and as a very wise person once said, make them choose you. You know who said that?
Who?
You know who said that?
I imagine it's like Spock or someone, though.
No, it could be. It's our guest, okay. Donna Gunter.
I was ready for Star Trek.
She has that URL. No, even better. It's the person you're talking to.
The title of the book. The title of the book. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I missed that, but I was like, you asked me a question like that. I'm just assuming like, oh crap, I missed my Star Trek reference.
No. You just didn't read our guest bio. So Donna has a free action plan that she's willing to give our 7 listeners. And you want to talk about that?
Sure. I call it the book action plan. And these are questions you can ask yourself to figure out the topic of your book and maybe a little bit of the content of the book. And then when you get that done, you can contact me then, because we can actually put that into action and create the book from what you started. And that's a free giveaway if you get my book. But for the listeners, you can actually get a downloadable copy of my book, Make Them Choose You, How Local Business Owners Can Double Their Business, Get Customers Consistently, and Have More Free Time Without Being Held Hostage by Expensive Marketers, by visiting makethemchooseyou.com/MG for marketing.
I like
geeks.
that. So makethemchooseyou.com/MG. Marketing geeks. Yeah. I like it.
So you should hopefully you'll get at least 7 people who will download this. Like we have 7 listeners, so it's we actually.
Well, I'll send it to my husband and one of his friends, so you'll have 2 more of them.
Oh, right. Well,
right.
Well, what happens is that we always lose 2, though. If we add 2, then we're going to lose 2.
Oh no.
So first of all, I'd like people to just go visit just to see how someone can do this. And if you're a marketer who wants to, start generating passive income like we all do, this is a really good template on how to do this. The content itself is also great because it's really helping people with kind of a problem they didn't realize that they had. So these types of things are definitely valuable, and that's why I love having guests like you on, because you are living the system that you are teaching people to do in a way, right?
Absolutely. I wouldn't have a business without it.
So for you, like, let me ask you this question. When you were, you mentioned you were in education, yeah?
Right.
So when you were in education, did you have like an entrepreneurial spirit? Was there a feeling that you could ditch that job and live life on your own terms? Was there a turning point when that happened?
There was the dream I could do that. My job in residence life, students don't have emotional crises or physical crises, between the hours of 8 and 5. It's really a 24/7, 365-day-a-year job, which is what led me to burnout. And where I was at the time in Massachusetts, the state had major higher education financial crises. They were talking about shutting the institution down because, we were so far from Boston that we were closer to New York and Vermont, quite frankly, than we were our capital of the state. And so there were just lots of pressures there, staff cutting, when it got to the point where I was doing the job of 3 people and being told that I should be grateful I had a job. That's when I started looking elsewhere. And my being sick every day didn't help things at all, because the psychological toll of all the stress was really wearing on the body. And so I actually found a mentor in those days. That was really before the internet, or at the beginning of having internet access. But a woman named Barbara Winter had written a book called Making a Living Without a Job. And that kind of became my Bible of sorts, of my self-employment Bible. But it took me a little while to get to the point where I actually did step out and start my own business. I found out really quickly when I got into this, offering marketing services, that everything I'd ever learned in higher education was marketing, but we didn't call it that. We called it programming. The ability to create an educational program that was enticing enough to keep college students on campus instead of going out and getting drunk at the off-campus keg party. Hey, that's marketing.
That's true. That's true. That's good marketing too.
And that's good. That's good marketing. Exactly. And finding ways to keep them out of, whatever keg party, whatever alcohol fueled event that was going on any given night or any given weekend was all marketing. And so I took those skills that I didn't really know that I had that were actually business related, and was able to generalize what I've been doing there into marketing. And it's become just a phenomenal success for me, and made life really, really fun.
In Robert Greene's excellent work, which I recommend to everybody, it's called Mastery. I don't know if have you read that, Donna?
No, I have not.
It's incredible. Robert Greene, who wrote the 48 Laws of Power, he speaks of like the artist or the professional that has to put 10,000 hours into something to become a master, right? And those 10,000 hours are not necessarily related to the thing you eventually do. They could be, 3,000 hours from this or 7,000 hours from that. So, I think after dealing with a lot of hormonal teenagers, the thought of just running out.
These are 20 and 21-year-olds. These are young adults, Andres.
You need to write a movie that like Judd Apatow would direct, because this the story that you have from this experience must be crazy. Having that type of job, you must have some incredible stories. The second thing is, does it infuriate you that they keep cutting education costs and paying teachers less and less money, which is attracting the worst talent possible, who will, people who will stand to work for this low amount of money. And then it just becomes hard for people like you, like good people, to work in that kind of conditioning. What's your take on all of that?
Well, I didn't work in public education, like K through 12 at all. I was always in higher education, but a similar thing was going on there. In public education, teachers are taking money from their own salaries to buy school lunches for kids, to buy school supplies for kids.
It's crazy.
In higher education. In higher education, I remember my boss wouldn't even buy business cards for us. So I'd go to a conference. I didn't have a business card to pass around because, she said those weren't legitimate expenses. But the bigger issue is, the role that athletics play in college, to the degree that, I won't disclose any names, but I had a student involved in a really serious, very would be a felony offense in the real world issue. And the vice president of student affairs let him off the hook.
Well, he's making us a lot of money as a good athlete.
Yeah, he was the star basketball player, but in the real world, he would have gone, if convicted, he would have gone to jail for 20 years for this offense.
Yeah. And so we live in a world where people are committing outrageous crimes and nothing is happening. And that is, that's across the board, folks. I'm not naming any names. I'm just saying across the board, you see this happen. Well, first of all, what would you say to somebody who was afraid of losing the golden handcuffs, like a job that they know is secure, but isn't good for them, suffering burnout? You took that leap. What would you say to someone who needed to take that leap?
Sometimes it's not what you say, but it's how low you will go. I tell this story not to shock anybody, but it's absolutely true. I was driving to work one day, and this was when I was at my most stressed, working the 3 jobs for the price of one. And I was on the way to work, and there was a fuel truck in front of me. And I simply thought, oh, I could just end it all now. If I pulled in front of this fuel truck, I'll blow up and I'll die. And I knew then that my limit had been reached, that I needed to do something different, because there was no doubt in my mind that I was probably going to die from some illness brought on by extraordinary stress. And so
burnout is real, folks.
Yeah. And it's just been I think it's just been claimed as a legitimate medical disability. I wish I'd done that 20 years ago, because it literally took me probably 10 years to get past that. And I still have nightmares to this day, 20 years after having left the job, over 20 years after having left the job, about that job. Let me ask you this.
When you did jump out and you left your job, how, did you struggle for a while? And was it how scary was it when you first made that leap? And how amazing did you feel when you finally realized that it was going to work and you things started turning the corner?
Well, I probably slept the first month after leaving. And honestly, because I was so exhausted, because I was at that point about working 80. I think I was working 80 hours a week at that point.
I've worked in corporate America. I get it.
And, but I did something that I wouldn't recommend anyone else do, but it worked at the time. I had 65 days of unpaid vacation time. And so instead of putting that into retirement, I actually took that out, and we lived on that, in addition to my husband's salary for a year, while I figured out what I was going to do. I did actually in the meantime start a business that wasn't very successful. It was in the crafts industry, and because that was a hobby of mine. And I discovered, for me at least, that turning a hobby into a job made it where it was not fun anymore. So I wouldn't advocate.
Have you ever read the E-Myth? Have you ever heard of E-Myth Mastery? That book?
Yes, I've got that.
Yeah, that one they talk about the pie maker, and that's a very it doesn't always, just because you love something doesn't always mean it's going to translate into an awesome business idea.
Oh, absolutely. I learned that the hard way, and so I went back then and ran a youth center. After I had my unsuccessful foray into entrepreneurship, but my second foray was the successful one, even though I was, in a place where I was in the midst of a divorce from my husband, moved from Massachusetts back to Texas, moved back into my childhood home, had no local prospects, but used contacts that I'd made online in the previous year, as well as internet marketing skills to build a business from my small town of 8,000 in deep rural East Texas, where they were just above using 2 tin cans with a string, for telephone service. And I exaggerate. That's a little exaggeration, but not a whole lot.
Not a lot.
I used to work for Comcast. That's not an exaggeration. Well, one thing I want to address here, though, and this is more just about the Netherlands versus the U.S. One of the things I love about this country is that, first of all, I pay outrageous taxes. It's 40, sometimes 45%, which is fine. You know why it's fine? Because over here, if you get burnout, you go see the doctor and they say, okay, we'll check it out. They do a few tests and they're like, yep, you got burnout. And then you can take a lot of time to recover. You can take almost 2 years and you get your full salary. And people recover faster here. It's quite something. It's quite something. So anyway, it's
the U.S. is the new third world country in terms of medical care.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that we have a workforce. People are complaining about being able to find jobs, but they're working people to death over there. I mean, it's like it's insane. The average American gets 2 weeks vacation a year. Right.
And they don't all take it. They don't all take it too.
Most don't take it. Most don't take it. Over here, mandatory. You have to give your employee 3 months. If you've signed them on full time, you got to give your employee 3-month vacations. You have to, and pay them.
Wow.
Yeah. And you have
amazing.
to take them. You get fined as a company if you keep your employee there.
Wow, that is amazing.
It's so amazing.
Well, not only, there's such little in vacation offered in the U.S. It's not being allowed to take it. I mentioned that I lived off my vacation pay. I had 65 days of unpaid vacation. That was the maximum that I could accrue because I was not allowed to take vacation. Or if I was, it was closely monitored as to when I could do it. And it was only, 1 month in the late fall and 1 month in the winter. It's like, who the hell wants to take vacation
That's
then?
the point. I've been there where it's just like, hey, I want to take a vacation right at this time. Oh, well, looks like Bob already asked for that time off. So you're going to have to cover for those 2 days. It's just like, well, what if I don't come in? Well, you've got 5 write-ups. If you get 2 more, and that's a 2 write-ups thing if you don't show up for your shift. So, that puts you on final probation. It's like, that's crazy. That's crazy. So, where can we find you, Donna? Where's the best place to see your stuff, get a hold of you, the whole shebang, if they want to work with you?
Well, my website is bizsmartmedia.com. And that's the entree to everything about Donna and BizSmart Media, links to all social media profiles, contact forms, etc.
Great.
Request for strategy sessions.
And then our listeners can get a copy of the ebook from where again?
From makethemchooseyou.com/MG.
Okay. Very good. Very good. And finally, what are you most geeky about? Like what's the geekiest thing that you're into right now that's marketing related or not? We talked about this at the top of the show.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say necessarily right now, but my family has always thought I was so weird because when I was a child, I loved the original episodes of Star Trek and was fascinated by that science fiction and all of that. And I'm just, I've seen all of the Star Trek series now and all the movies, and I'm just always amazed at how much that our real life, from the tablets you see them use on, Deep Space Nine or any of the other series, The Next Generation, to the communication devices, they've all manifested themselves in real life.
True. Yeah.
And was Gene Roddenberry that visionary, or did our society develop as a result of Star Trek? That is the circular question that we'll probably never know the answer.
Well, the people that he got to write the show were like really well-known science fiction writers at the time. My dad was a science fiction writer. He wrote Star Trek. He wrote some of those original episodes.
It had a very large impact on me, and I don't recall the name of it, but it was about the society that they encountered. And there were 2 societies in this world that were at war. And so instead of actually arming them with weapons and sending them to war, they would do a calculation of how many people would be killed in battle and send those people to a chamber where they would just be evaporated. And so that's how they fought their war. And that has stuck with me. I mean, I saw that. I must have been only like 9 or 10 years old when I saw that. That has stuck with me to this day of, wow, what a way to fight a war. How far removed are we from that particular ideology at this point?
I feel that way about The Running Man, because in The Running Man, there was this one scene when Arnold Schwarzenegger killed one of the gladiators, and they took a quick digital copy and made it look like the other guy was killed, like the good guy. And it I don't know if you remember that scene, Running Man. If you haven't seen it, you got to see Arnold Schwarzenegger's Running Man.
Great movie. And not just that, but that whole concept of like a reality television show before a reality TV show even existed. And like they're like using a reality TV show to kill each other. I mean, we're not that far off from that. So
no, we're not.
I just not one bit. So I mean, it's I love the mythos that was created, and I think it represents like an element of hope that we are, this we're in the middle of the sixth great extinction, and if we can get through the next 200 years, we can get through the next thousands and go to the stars. And so I think that we're up against that kind of existential crisis. And I think that that show kind of like was the first like bubbling up of that kind of gestalt that we're all kind of feeling on some level in this planet, I think.
I think so too. And to kind of bring this full circle and, back to the topic of books, one of my favorite things in the Next Generation episodes of Star Trek was that the Captain Jean-Luc Picard had a library of physical books that he deliberately brought with him and chose to read that way as opposed to anything electronic.
Yeah, it was pretty.
And so to me, that says that speaks just volumes, no pun intended, of the value of books in society, even printed books, despite the fact that, even I've gone digital for the, 99% of what I do, but printed books will outlast us all.
Oh yeah. Hopefully they will. As
long as Brave New World, or what was the book where they burn all the books?
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen.
So last question, how pumped are you for the Picard show? Like, come on.
Oh, I've seen the trailer and I am psyched. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it.
That's going to be, you know what? Because I have a feeling this is going to be good because they finally realized, like, number one, Game of Thrones broke television. So what you can do with a multi-leveled story that span like a 10-hour movie. And I don't think that Patrick Stewart would have taken it unless it was a really good idea. So,
right.
So
yeah.
I think
I read he had a lot of input on that and didn't want the same old, and only agreed to do it because it was mind blowing.
Yeah. So, something we can all look forward to. That's one of the geekiest things I'm most looking forward to. Well, Donna, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. When you get your podcast going, you got to have us on your show. But I think that you really have something awesome here, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing it.
So one last time, let's give that URL one last time. Donna, you want to give the URL for the book? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. You can Make Them Choose You at the website makethemchooseyou.com/MG.
So everyone listening, make sure to go and get a copy of that book. You're going to find all the details of what we've just heard here and how to kind of take this into action. So be sure to go there. Donna, it's been awesome having you on the show. And for sure, if and when you get your podcast started, we want to be on it.
All right. Sounds great.
Okay, guys. So I learned a lot here today. So I am grateful to Donna Gunter, who Gunter, of course, is one of my favorite characters on Adventure Time. And for those of you who don't watch Adventure Time, all you need to know is Gunter is the most evil being in the entire universe, but in the body of a penguin. Imagine if like Thanos was like in a penguin.
Now, just to be fair, though, you're not comparing our guest to that Gunter. You're just making a
no. I'm just saying that when absolutely not. I'm just saying that Gunter, the name Gunter, is the name of one of my favorite Adventure Time characters.
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody go watch it. We're taking a segment that we like to call Customer Reviews.
Customer Reviews.
You have a review you want to read about a show.
I do. Yeah, let me hold on, where is it? Oh. Yes, okay. So this is a review that comes from one of our listeners, Younger99. Unsubscribing. Intro is too long, too much joking around and talking about TV shows and movies, and more wasting of time talking about sex robots. This podcast has maybe 10 minutes of meat, but I listen while bike commuting and can't skip the wastefulness while riding. So long. Well, thank you, Younger99.
for that wonderful, wonderful review and being one of our 7 listeners out there.
I think he dropped off. He dropped off, and then we had someone else come on right when he.
Younger 98, Younger 98 came on. Younger 99.
We can go through 100 of them before we have to actually look for other subscribers. What's your thought on that? How do you feel?
I think my response. Well, I mean, my main response to this is that if you're listening to the show only to learn, I mean, we're not like a college class. I mean, we're not here to like only teach. We're here to entertain. Isn't that part of what we do here on those? Aren't we like partial, like here to entertain? Our chit chat is supposed to be like somewhat engaging. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's terrible. Maybe like we're the worst parts of our own show. I have no idea.
Yes, and I think that when you say entertaining, I hope you are using that term very loosely. Like your definition of.
Yeah, I know. It's not actually entertaining. But it entertains me. I entertain myself. So if I'm entertaining myself, I usually feel pretty good about it. But I mean, apparently there's something about entertaining others.
But I will say this. If it was like 10 minutes of me, let me tell you something. That is the finest sirloin you've ever sunk your marketing teeth into, buddy.
That is
beyond
right there,
meat sirloin. So let me tell you, Younger 99, since you're unsubscribing and you're not going to listen to this anyway, thank you for your feedback, and I really appreciate it. We are here to entertain, and I'm actually a little hurt that he doesn't like the sex robot report, which we haven't done in a while. But see, and that's the thing. It's like he just wrote this. Because
why unsubscribe now?
Like we haven't.
Why unsubscribe now?
We haven't done them in months. Like he didn't hear my story, obviously, which was, where I like about everything that was going on. And dude, all I could say is like it's okay. You can't please everybody. And you're right. I'm not doing it for Younger 99. I'm doing it for you other folks, you other 7 listeners. No, I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it for this guy. I honestly, this is some of the highlights of my week is doing this show. I really love it.
But what I want to say is that if you truly only want amazing content, like MIT you can listen to their courses. Like go find like the MIT courses, listen to their business courses, and they will give you pure content with none of the banter, with none of the sex robots, with none of the TV show and movie reviews. And then I think you're going to be in heaven.
And for those of you who might be going, yeah, Younger 99 is all right. He understands my problem with this show. For those of you, I don't know. I have no answer. It's not going to get better than this.
Yeah, this is as good as it gets. I'm sorry.
If you're expecting miracles, I mean, look, one day I may have Keanu Reeves on there, but then you'll hear about it, right? It'll be like all over the place.
Yeah.
So I got a review. I want to read. Okay. Here we go. All right. This is a review. I'm reading this from iTunes. Let's see. 3 stars. Morning radio, quote, like banter sprinkled with knowledge. I'm constantly skipping and forwarding their shows to get the content they advertise as the title. Intro too long, jingle. Is our intro too long, folks? I mean, let us know. If it is, we'll cut it down. Then they talk about themselves. Yeah.
Of course. Come on.
Then we make some jokes and then get into the topic at hand eventually. Eventually. Does that mean like when we get into the topic, we're no longer funny? Like, does that mean?
That's what I mean. Yeah. I think this sounds like the same guy.
It could be.
These guys would get along.
I mean, I'm hysterical according to me. So but I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I got to admit, I got some haters out there. So, I
mean, the intro is a minute. So, I mean, there's a lot of shows out there, like 1 minute. I mean, maybe that's borderline too long, but I mean, really, is it too long? I don't know. Maybe.
All right. Maybe we should switch it up. I'll take this to heart. If they would
Yeah, we could take this. This is valid.
This is constructive criticism. Never listen to the 1-star reviews because those are always the hater. Listen to the 2 and the 3-star reviews because they've got some legitimate concerns. So I'm taking this to heart. If they would cut to the chase from the start, then sprinkle banter amongst themselves or jokes later. So save the. Don't be funny
off the air. No. He didn't say off the air, but
you all have no idea what we talk about once we hit the stop record button. It's hysterical. If they had sprinkled some banter amongst themselves or jokes later, I would have given it a 4-star or higher. The skipping to get to the annoys me personally. So by the time they speak relevant content, you're peeved. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. In marketing, attention from your audience is the new currency. I mean, you know what? So it's a car wreck. It really gets attention. And so every week, ladies and gentlemen, you can come and listen to what a car wreck would sound like if it were a podcast. That's so. In closing, let me be clear: when you actually get to hear advice or the topic, those guys do, in capitals, have a solid insight and knowledge. Thank you, Chris.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. We appreciate that.
And then finally, I know they are constantly trying to better their podcast, so I will keep listening and change my rating. I promise as they improve. You know, Chris S787 who left a review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you, actually. And I've learned something here today.
What have you learned?
I have learned that it's incredibly hard to get iTunes on a piece of paper. It's really like iTunes reviews on a piece of. It's weird. It's like weird technology. I don't know.
It is kind of strange how that works. Now, can I read our 5-star recent review too? I want to read our 5-star.
Do that.
Let's do that. Okay, because I do have. Let me just pull it out here. Okay, I do have this one. And no, it's weird that we have them all written on paper, but it's somehow we have them that way. This one says it comes from Virtually Natalie. Heaps of inspiration. Justin, Andros, and their talented guests talk all things marketing, but it's so much more than that. You'll get tons of actionable advice and tangible tips, but you'll also get heaps of inspiration from truly engaging individuals that have been where you are and want to see you succeed. Thanks so much for putting out a spectacular show, Justin and Andros. Keep up the great work.
Oh, now, Virtually Natalie.
Brilliant.
Thank you. You know what? You filled my bucket. That's what I tell my son. It's like when he does something that like hugs me, I go, you filled my bucket. And that's there's a book, the Bucket Dippers. If you are a parent, then the bucket dipping, the bucket filling book. It's called the bucket filling book. It's great.
I don't know, but that sounds like illegal. That's what it sounds like to me.
Only in Alabama. So, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, another fine edition of the Marketing Geeks comes to a close next week.
And keep the reviews coming, people. We're going to start reading the reviews on the show, whether they're 1-star, whether they're 3-star, whether they're 5-star. I want to read the reviews on the show. We love you guys. Yeah. Especially Younger 99. We do love you. We appreciate that you were a subscriber, even though you're gone now.
Maybe we can have you back at some point if our show gets any better, but it won't. So, and if you have a question, reach out to us. We're on social media now, thanks to my
thanks to the wonders of technology.
Yeah. So, follow us, but ask us a question too. We'd love to hear, any questions that you may have. We want to find out what you guys are up to.
If you listen to the podcast through the Anchor app, so if you go to anchor.fm and listen to the podcast through the app, you can actually leave us voice messages.
No way.
So you can actually leave voice messages to the show that we could play on the air. So, find it on anchor.fm, listen to the show there, and leave us voice messages.
Oh, my God, I'm going to totally do that. I'm going to leave a message for myself.
You're going to prank call the show.
I'm going to be like, Andres, your butt smells. And with that,